It's common belief that oil will at some point, possibly soon, be replaced as a primary source of energy by renewable and alternative sources of energy. Equally, the possibility of a slowing world economy is suppressing the value of oil.
If you think that this fear is overdone, then you may want to invest in oil commodities in order to take advantage of a correction. In this video, we're going to tell you how we invest in oil and how you can too. Let's check it out.
Welcome to Money Unshackled, the investment channel that sets you and your finances free. I'm Andy, this is Ben, and if you like what we say, hit the like button and click subscribe. Let's get into it.
Number 1. Buy a barrel. While it is of course possible to buy a barrel of oil in a similar way that an investor would buy a bar of gold or a piece of jewellery, this is obviously not practical, and the storage cost alone would be huge to do it safely, so we do not recommend that you invest in oil in this way.
Number 2, oil stocks. One of the easiest and most accessible ways to invest in oil is to buy stocks that operate in the oil industry. My preferred method is to buy gigantic oil companies such as BP and Shell. You can buy these stocks through any good investment platform, and we've got a very popular video that shows you how to choose an investment platform, so I'll put a link in the description below.
There is a downside to this approach. Oil companies are very large, very complex business operations, and an increase in the oil price may not necessarily impact on the share price in the same way.
This method also exposes you to company-specific risks, which have nothing to do with the oil price. For instance, in BP in 2010, their share price was decimated due to the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. One plus side of investing in oil stocks is their ability to ride out low oil prices. For instance, these large Goliaths have continued to pay out huge dividends despite the lower oil prices that we have seen recently. Having weighed up the pros and cons of investing in oil, this is our preferred method.
Number 3. Oil exchange traded funds and exchange traded commodities. Our next favourite approach is to buy into exchange traded funds which track either the oil stocks price or the oil commodities price. Taking the iShares Stocks Europe 600 Oil and Gas ETF as an example, this fund invests in oil companies from developed countries in Europe. We like this approach because while it invests in stocks still, it offers greater diversification than solely investing in individual stocks.
Or you can invest in an ETC. An exchange traded commodity usually uses derivatives to track the spot price of a commodity. In the case of oil, you can invest in ETFS WTI crude oil.
However, we are not personally fans of this method because derivatives inherently involve some measure of counterparty risk, that is, the risk that the counterparty will go bust. As we cannot accurately determine the level of this risk, we feel it is best to avoid this method. As Warren Buffett says, never invest in something that you do not understand.
Number 4, futures. This is the most direct way to purchase a commodity without literally buying barrels of oil. A futures contract is a contract to buy or sell an asset at an agreed upon price in the future.
However, the amount of money that you would need to buy and sell oil futures is generally out of the league of retail investors, that's you and us. However, you can indirectly invest in futures, and this is how.
Number 5, contract for difference and spread betting. CFDs and spread betting allow you to deal on the changing prices of futures and options without actually buying the contracts for yourself. Investors here need to be extremely careful because both spread betting and CFDs use margin, which means you can bet money that you don't have, potentially putting you in huge amounts of debt.
Well, there you have it. We hope that you have learnt a lot from this video, and as we have only scratched the surface, feel free to ask questions below.
Question of the day, have you used CFDs or spread betting? Let us know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. On this channel we talk a lot about personal finance, investing and all things money. And if you want to see more great content, please click the subscribe button below.
This is Money Unshackled. See you next time.